And you've been too westernized. You've been westernized.
You've been westernized.
You've been westernized.
And
I
happiness.
feel like that's why actually earlier I was saying to you, what do you think is Western and what do you think is Arab? Because I feel like we have these really binary ideas of like, this is what it means to be Arab and this is what it means to be Western. And if you go too far that way, that means that you're less Arab or whatever. And I feel like, why does it need to be Western or Arab to like just want to be yourself, whatever that means, or to like explore all your options, or to like just live your life the way that you want? Why does that mean that you've become Westernized?
204 of A2 the show. 204 days we've been doing this and meeting people from all around the world. And today we have a really cool special guest, Alya Mooro.
Yep. Which makes today's show another classical. A Cube the show. How about that?
A Cube the show.
I feel like this is even better than, I don't know, unless you've had another Ali or Alia, because this is like Ali, and Alia. That's extra Cube.
We've had Ali Ahmed, we've had Ali, and then another person with an A, or
I feel like
Alia we haven't had yet, so
that's like next level cubing.
Yeah, no, I don't think we've ever had Alia on the show, which is, it's not bad. Hey, how about that? And welcome to the show, Alia, as you already know, or as you've already heard.
You're on the show.
You're on the show. Go ahead and let the world know who you are and what you do.
I am Alia. I'm an Egyptian-born, London-raised journalist and author and a bunch of other stuff, I guess, but that's probably like top line.
Fair. So let's get right into it. Being a journalist, I guess it's really, really hard because nowadays the whole freedom of press and journalism is being more and more controlled by, all these big media outlets and things like that. So let's talk a little about that.
Let's talk about what does it mean
about the whole situation.
I feel like the thing that kind of trips me out the most, more than, the fact that things are like being grouped into like top level, like there's so few entities, right? And I feel like other than that, what really freaks me out is cancel culture. So I feel like everything is, and I understand that for so long, so many things that we said were offensive for so many different reasons. And now we've kind of moved beyond, we have a real understanding now of like, no, everyone should be free to be themselves. Even if you don't understand, that's not, that's irrelevant. Like everyone has many different identities and many, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that we kind of just thought were, not me personally, but as a world, we thought were okay to say and think. And now, we've moved past that understanding, which I think is a very good thing. I think that people definitely have more space and freedom to be themselves in all the ways that means, and more understanding that we shouldn't just discount anything because we don't personally understand it, if you see what I mean. So I think that's great. But I think, and I was recently reading a really interesting article about, this professor in Stanford who's trying to change it from like calling people out to calling people in. And her argument is essentially, as soon as we call people out, that basically prevents, conversation. It removes the opportunity for growth and for learning that I think we all kind of need in this sort of transition period that I think we're currently going through. And canceling someone means that very often we don't have that space to have those important conversations.
True. Yeah. I think that's the best solution to cancel.
And it's not
actually
that
I've heard.
We say it like that. I mean, it's great, right? You say it. It's one of the huge things.
But theoretically, it's different than
what are you talking about? In practice, right?
Because
one of the things about cancel culture here is that it just makes everyone scared. You're talking about now we're more free than ever. You're saying that, but I feel like it's kind of the opposite. I feel like we're less free to express ourselves, less free to express our opinions, because if we have an opinion that maybe others don't share, we're like actually afraid of cancel culture. We're actually afraid of our friends shutting us down and shutting us out.
I get that, and I think I definitely feel that as well. But at the same time, I'm very much up for being corrected. And I think that's where the difference is between, again, like calling someone in and calling someone out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, there is, like I was saying, there's so much that we just, you know, all these jokes that people would say, all of these kind of, like, that's not cool. Like, we shouldn't be so flippant, I think, with what we say. So I think that that's an important shift. It's just, how do we go about explaining, and how do we go about kind of having that transition in the most in the best way, without just being
Thing
like,
is, I
shut
feel
up, you know?
I feel like people get a kick out of cancel culture and canceling people. So to call someone in is no fun for them, you know. It's not as fun calling someone out, like making them feel like they're useless or they're pieces of shit for saying whatever or doing whatever. No, like there's no kick out of it. There's no fun. And actually, you know, listen, what you did was wrong. You're supposed to not say this, or maybe say that instead. No, they're like, oh my God, you said this. You're this, you're that, you're this. They start labeling you a bunch of different labels. And
yeah, I
kick
fully
out of
get
it.
that. I think there is sort of like there is sort of a glee that often comes, and you can sort of see the pile on Twitter, and everyone's like, but I think that's a way for people to be like, look, I'm more moral than you because I didn't say that, or I would never say that.
Yep, it's
I'm a
called
better
being woke.
person.
It's elitism.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like a woke off, like who's more woke, you know?
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
we
God,
talked about
woke
this
up.
on, I think, yesterday's episode, where we said woke is just fake awareness, basically, and it's not really a thing. I'm not with the whole woke culture. Like, you ain't woke, go back to sleep. That's what I like to say all the time.
What are your thoughts about this, Alia?
Wait, I have a question. Are you guys literally doing an episode every single day?
Every single day for
Wow.
204 days.
A to the show.
A to the show.
Wow, that is dedication.
It is.
Thank you. Yes,
It is.
and it's because we get to meet all kinds of people from all around the world.
Pretty much.
We were talking about it, like we're kind of the most diverse show because we have people from literally all over the world now on our show, from all different backgrounds and opinions.
Every part of the every corner of the atlas, anywhere in the throw a dart, we probably got someone from there.
Amazing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Pretty
well,
much.
Thanks for bringing me on.
Well, you're more than welcome. You're more than
pleasure.
welcome. Yeah.
Do you think I want to?
Oh, he lagged.
No. So do you think cancel culture is going to come to?
We lost you.
Lagging. Do you think cancel culture is going to come to the Middle East? We've been talking. That's one of the things we're talking about. It's like it's more of a Western problem right now. Do you think
but it came to the Middle East. It's here. It's in Kuwait at least.
Who's getting cancelled?
Like everyone's getting cancelled left, right, and center by a bunch of like 14-year-old girls who try to be all Americanized. It's like, oh my God, you said this, but our culture is like this. What do you mean, right?
No, well, I definitely think that, you know, when I'm not anti-cancel culture, I definitely think that there's a lot of things that need to change. And I think that often, again, like bringing these things to the forefront is important because there's, like, for example, in Egypt recently, you know, there's this whole Me Too movement happening with all these guys, like doing all these disgusting things. And, you know, were young girls not calling them out, then we wouldn't have the conversation of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate.
That's fine. That's completely fine, right? Rape is never a joke, nor is it ever, you know, something okay. Right? But my worry with cancel culture is that some women might get too carried away, right? And
I think that when we exist in like a culture or a world even where so many things have been normalized for so long, that's where the problem is. So it can be difficult to know where the line is when for so long the line's been against us. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, even in terms of like, there's, you know, racism is a pervasive, really heinous thing around the world. So like, no, it's never funny to make a racist joke or whatever. So it kind of is that we do need to be quite aggressive about it, I think. Otherwise things will just continue in the way that they always have been. So I think that's what I was getting at earlier when I was saying, you know, for so long things have been this way. So it's only understandable that the sort of response to that is now that we have confidence or ability, or we're not being gaslit in the same way to like not speak about these things. It can be like, oh, whoa, okay, so what can I say? But for so long, everything that we said and thought was problematic in many ways. So
Right.
Fair.
It's
But
true. No, wow.
go
So
ahead.
we were talking about this. Do you think it's like we need like a gradual change or very shift change?
And I think that's the difference between calling in and calling out, right? Because I
Right.
feel like we need to facilitate these conversations instead of canceling. But do these conversations need to happen? A million, billion, trillion %.
Okay. Fair.
Amazing. Right.
Fair.
and
Yeah, I guess.
and instead, yeah, I feel like some of these conversations are just getting shut down. If even we've been trying to find different people talk about this topic, and it's difficult because it's hard to empathize with a person from another side or a person from a different like
Aspect or point of
view,
view.
right? We have like sides and we stick to our bubbles. And how come you have like such a multivariate, like you're not just sticking with one side, woke culture or whatever you also call that cancel culture? So how are you doing that?
Yeah, well, I think that, again, like I recently read a really interesting book actually, which is called Mistakes Were Made But Not by Me. And it talks about basically the way that our brains work, where we so often, like say I say something, my brain will work really hard to justify it to myself because I don't want to be wrong, right? So like everything that I see will kind of tie into whatever it was that I said to prove that I'm right. So I think, and I'm lucky, I think as a journalist, I very much always try and see both sides. Obviously, there's times where the other side is wrong, and I'm just going to have to accept that and admit that and not try and defend it, But I think that I read a lot, and I think I try and read like a different variations of things and lots of different books and lots of different viewpoints. And I always kind of advocate opening up our minds to different opinions because there's no point in kind of being stuck in the cement about something. And I think that it's just about, again, like doing it in a way which is, your moral compass essentially. And I think for me, my moral compass has always been that everyone should be free to be themselves and free to do whatever as long as it's not hurting anyone. So that's always what I kind of try and lean towards, regardless whatever we're talking about.
Here's a question I want to ask you. Do you think we should have a unified moral compass, or do you think everyone's moral compass should be their own making as long as it's, within the law? Or what do you think?
Well, sometimes the law is wrong, right? Like slavery used to be legal, for example. In a lot of countries, it's not illegal to rape your wife. Like that's not considered a thing. So I think that, we can't always stick to what the law thinks. Sometimes the law is not moral. But should we all have the same moral compass? I think that's a really difficult question. And I think the answer is probably no. But I think, again, as long as it's not harming anyone, and as long as, I think for me, my main thing is that everyone, and I talk about this all the time, the space what my whole book, The Greater Freedom, is about, is that everyone should be free to be themselves, whatever that looks like for them, and whatever feels right for them.
Fair. What about you, Ali? What do you think about that question that I asked?
So
we should
just a response to that. Just something that popped in my head is like, so you're saying that you should be good as long as you're not hurting anybody, but sometimes it's like the people, like your perspective on the thing is whether you're gonna get hurt or not. For example, who's the name? Doug Stanfield, the guy with the puppet there who did like I kill you. He had the Muslim puppet.
Jeff Dunham,
right? All right.
Love that guy.
Exactly. So like I'm from the Middle East.
I don't know who he is.
All right.
I'll explain about Jeff Dunham briefly.
Jeff
Dunham is a ventriloquist, right? And he has this character from his characters called Ahmed, the Dead Terrorist, who is basically a terrorist that blew himself up. Is literally just bones and cartilage.
Sounds a bit problematic.
Exactly.
But the thing is, he is liked mostly by Arabs, which is
Right.
where
Which
it's
is
a
very
little bit,
strange.
you know, ironic.
Mhm.
And it's funny to me because I can take a joke. I believe
Mhm.
that jokes shouldn't have any limits other than, you know, like religious belief. Like that's my only no, right? Is jokes can be about anything and anyone, just not religious figures. Okay. But with him, he kind of knows how to cross the red line.
Is he Arab? He doesn't
No,
sound like he's
he's
Arab.
he's the white.
He's not.
He has the whitest name and is the whitest person in America. It's called Jeff Dunham.
Right.
So so Arabs are kind of laughing at themselves with this white guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Sounds a bit like internalized Islamophobia to me.
I mean, if you want to be
Is that-
technical, I guess.
Wait,
Yeah,
you think
but
that's
like,
what it is? Wait, you think like there's internalized? I'm internal or people who I don't know what is internalized Islamophobia. I've never heard of that before.
I think that's a big question. I feel like, you know, we're so used to pandering to the West that perhaps, you know, it's easier to laugh than it is. But I also feel like, don't you guys think that like I can say something as an Arab, but like this random white guy shouldn't? You can
Right.
make fun of your own things, you know what I mean? And like let me make fun of my own
no,
things.
I don't think that at all. I'm in a guild with 40 people who are all European, Swedish, Denmark, Norway, English, all white. They make fun of me for being an Arab, and I laugh my ass off from how funny it is. But I make fun of them for being Swedish, and they laugh their ass off. Why?
Yeah, but
Because
are
we get
Swedish
that it's
people?
a joke.
Sorry, guys. I feel like I'm such a buzzkill, and this is not.
No
at
worries.
all.
No, that's cool.
I mean,
No,
also,
it's
yeah,
your
like, I'm sure-
opinion.
Right.
I'm glad
I'm
to have
literally
someone
like-
in the opposite.
We don't
you
want to
know.
put you also in this corner. I'm sure like you laugh at different things, and it's not like
Yeah, of
you
course.
think
But
that,
like,
whatever's funny. Right.
are Swedish people being killed for being Swedish? No.
No, but there
Are Arabs being
Arabs
killed
being
for
killed
being
for being-
Arabs?
Yes.
Okay, fair.
Yes,
That's
pretty much
fair.
so.
But at the end of the day, like we get that it's a joke. No
Mhm.
one really means anything, right?
Maybe your friends don't, but like the media is like Islamophobic all the time.
Okay,
all
but that's the
time.
media. My friends aren't the media. I learned.
Yeah,
to
but people
differentiate
are
between-
literally killed in the streets all the
Right.
time for
Okay.
being Muslim. People are stopped and searched. People are pulled aside in the airport. They're not free to travel. They're not free to get visas. Their lives are at risk. So I
Okay.
feel like when you are the oppressed group, we do have to be conscious of the messages that we're putting out there.
I don't
You
know.
think-
I
You
feel
think
like.
we're
Go ahead.
right? Sorry, you think we're an oppressed group?
Oh,
I just wanna-
100%.
Okay, why do you think that?
All the examples that I just gave, people are
Hmm.
killed, people are
Right.
arrested, people are not able to get jobs,
Mhm.
people are stereotyped every single day.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Okay.
Where do you
No, it's
live in
true.
Kuwait? Where do you live, Ali? Number
I
two.
live in Los Angeles right now,
Okay.
and I mean maybe I'm more white passing than many,
Yeah, you're pretty
but
white passing.
I
feel
always
like I'm
say it
kinda
to him,
free.
but he doesn't believe me.
Right. No, I mean I believe it. Hey, what am I gonna say? I don't get to choose.
Look at you,
But
bro. The sun is
I don't-
reflecting off your forehead.
I'm pretty white right now. Yeah, it's true. But I don't know. Yeah, it is kind of like a mentality. It's like sometimes you feel like
Yeah, if
You're
you
free
feel
to
like you're an
promote
oppressed group, you're going
oppressed.
to be an oppressed group. That's also my taking. And
I don't know if
stance
it's
on
a choice. I feel
Mhm.
like there's literal statistical evidence.
this. Fair. We're not saying that there isn't.
Wait,
We're just saying
I'm-
that.
I'm interested. What are you referring to? I'm just curious.
I just gave you guys so many
Oh.
examples. People
Dude,
being
pay
killed, the
attention.
media, the headlines.
True. That's fair.
But
No, it's
again,
true.
I feel like we need to learn to make a difference between who our real enemy is and who our friends are. So my friends are not the media. That's why I let
Right.
it slide, and I make fun of them 10 times worse. It's because I know how to make fun of people. I can roast anyone, right? But when it's someone like the media that comes and says, "Oh, you guys are this," see, it's not a
Right.
joke; it's an accusation.
Right.
That's where there's a difference. That's where
mean-
I
I
draw.
think
the
for,
line.
I think for me, I'm very conscious that the things that are being said, like we have power, right? So if
Mhm.
I'm gonna agree, then I'm just putting fuel into this fire. So a lot of what I do in my work is try and provide alternative narratives, try and show the human side, all the things that are not the stereotype, basically, because that's my life and those are my friends' lives and these are the things that impact us. So it's, I try not to, I don't laugh when I don't find it funny. And I very much think that it's all of our responsibilities to shape the world that we want to be in and not just agree with the negative stereotypes and the negative things that enough people are doing for themselves.
I mean, I agree. No, I agree with that. Especially the media paints us with a light. It does paint us, like all the movies and all the shows. Like you don't see like real Arabs except for like a couple shows, whatever.
You just got Rami, basically.
Rami's not right, but hopefully.
But that's the point of this podcast, right?
Right.
Like, we're literally showing that, hey, we're normal. Look at me. I'm not wearing a fucking turban. I'm wearing an Adidas shirt.
Right.
I'm wearing, HyperX.
It's so westernized, Ali. Will they get mad at you in Kuwait if you wear that around?
No,
honestly, no. Okay.
Unless it's it's a family gathering, then yeah, sure, I guess. But otherwise, if I'm going out with my friends, this is what I wear. This is literally what I wear. Like, I don't go full Arab on everyone. It's like, I don't have to. I don't got to prove anything.
Sorry, Ali, are you more westernized, you'd say, than most?
I would say my mentality is half and half. I still uphold my cultural belief system and everything. But when I come to think about life in different instances, I like to think of it in both aspects and see which one makes more sense to me as a person, as Ali, and then I go about it in my own way. But I don't have to take a Arabic approach on everything or a Western approach because I'm so American and I'm so...
I have a question for you. What do you think is Arab and what do you think is Western?
Good question. I've never actually thought of this.
Good.
It depends on the situation. Like, for example, if I go to a family gathering, we have a family gathering every Thursday. The men of the family, we sit in a duwaniya, right? Which is basically where we all gather and have, our talks. In that situation, I'm Arab mentality, Kuwaiti mentality, vary with my, cultural beliefs and like...
Which are what?
What do you mean, which are what? Like
what does that mean for you?
What do you mean, what does that mean for me? You want me to list the culture that's been 1,000 years old now? It'll be a 4-hour podcast, man. Like, but
there's something. Give us an idea of what do you mean? Like, we want like a specific example. If you
okay, when I go in, I don't say, "Yo, what's up, guys?" No, Assalamu alaikum from the right, moving all the way down the line, right? And when someone walks in the room, I stand up, even though I like, regardless of whether I like them or dislike them.
I do that too sometimes here in America, and it feels kind of strange. Everyone's like, someone enters the room and I get up to say hi, and
that's Arab mentality, upholding our roots, culture, and traditions and belief, right? Out of respect, you stand up when someone walks in the room, right? I don't speak in English, obviously, because I'll get thrown out pretty quickly. The way I talk, the way I think about anything, whether to do with politics, religion, food, you name it, right? But when I'm out with my friends, it's a completely different story. My friend walks in, I'm literally wearing shorts and a shirt and like I'm on my phone. I don't even stand up. I'm like, hey, hayak. That's what I do, right? That's literally like, it's different because with my friends, I consider them my brothers, not just my friends. So it's a whole different aspect, whole different mentality and point of view. Even when we're talking about anything, I always like to say, you know what? Okay, fine. And over here, this is how it works. But outside in the Western world, this is how they think about it, right? And that's how I go around it. But in different situations, I think of it in a perspective of 1 and 2, and I balance them out in my mind, whichever makes sense to me as a person, Alhamdulillah, I've been raised like properly, and I've been raised on how to think and talk, but still have my own methods of how I come to conclusions. And that's why I feel like I'm different. I love being different. It's not like, no. I love being different. It's great.
Right. Being yourself, I mean, that's awesome. Being an individual with your own opinion. So what do you mean if you have like an example of something where you have to think in an Arab mindset and then in a Western mindset and then come up with a solution? What is that like
Okay,
for you?
I'll tell you.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of a situation. There's thousands of situations I've been put in, but for some reason I can't remember any of them right now. So I'm trying my
Right.
hardest to like.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll give you a good example.
Hmm.
Yo mama jokes. This is the most simple one, right? In
Okay.
Arabia, someone makes fun of your mom, you murder him and his entire
Yeah.
bloodline, right?
Right.
That's how it
Uh-huh.
is. But when I was put in a situation with Western people where one of them was making, it wasn't making fun. It was just like, oh, your mom. I'm just like, okay, Ali, chill. Let's not ear rape him right now, right?
Oh
Let's,
my God.
calm down.
I love how quick he went from "we never make rape jokes" to just dropping that.
It's not a listen. You don't. It's called an
shook my
ear
hands.
rape.
I
It's
knew it
when
was
you
coming.
yell into a mic so hard that it rapes your ear. It's not a. I'm going to physically. How do you explain this to? Like it's. Ali, explain ear rape. I don't know how to explain it.
But she has a point here. It's like normalization of like
Okay,
different
fine. I'm not
terms and
gonna
words
bust
and
his
ideas.
eardrums, right? Is that
There you
fine?
go.
You may carry on.
Okay. Well, and I just threw another your mama joke his way. And then I continued. Everyone had fun, everyone laughed, and we just moved on with our lives. That's the Western approach of my
Interesting.
mentality.
I like that
Right?
example.
So that's how I go about it. That's me.
There you go.
She's so like unimpressed with me, bro. Look at her. She is so
Come on,
unimpressed with me.
Please.
Jeez. Why?
All right. What do you
It's
think?
a good method of thinking. Hey, look at her, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
She made me apologize for no reason. Okay, let me hear your thoughts.
Is my school teacher face is on. I'm just like, what? That's fine. Maybe we should move on.
No. I want to hear your thought. You can't just give me that face.
No, my only I think that's a very good example. I'm just still
Right.
stuck on some of your terms of phrase, but we can move on.
Interesting.
Like,
All right. So you
what terms of phrase? What
if
did
you
I
want
say?
to move
that
on,
was
that's
wrong?
fair. That's fair. We said she moves on. Let's move on. Let's
Fine.
talk about. So, do you think I mean, you've lived in different spaces. You can speak English pretty good, but you're also an Arab. Have you had the struggle of feeling like you don't fit with the Western mindset or the Middle East? Or are you good at adapting in different places?
I feel like I'm pretty good at adapting. Like I'm very
Right.
lucky in that I feel like I've lived I grew up most of my life in London, but I lived in Egypt for a few years and I go to Egypt all the time. And I feel like I have like full lives in both countries, which is really
Oh wow.
yeah, really
That's
cool. Like I
amazing.
have a lot of friends in Egypt and stuff. I think one thing that I've definitely, come to terms with, especially as I get older, is the idea that like for sure when I'm in Egypt, everyone thinks of me as the British one. And I think that kind of has allowed me to like it's given me freedoms that I don't think I would have necessarily had I been raised in Egypt. And even, my dad and my grandfather say this all the time, like, I'm single, I live alone, like I kind of do whatever I want. And there's very much this sort of, even my dad, he's very chill, he's super open-minded, he's literally like, go do whatever you want. And he said to me numerous times, like, if we lived in Egypt, I would have had to be different with you. And I think there is this kind of communal aspect, and there's a lot of judgments of like, oh, how did your parents raise you? Like whatever you do is a reflection on like your whole entire extended family, right? So I think that I kind of have less of that because firstly, my family is very small and also I'm in London. So people might not know what I'm getting up to kind of thing.
There you go. It is kind of freeing, right? Yeah. Because you can be like, yeah, I'm the person who has my own thoughts and beliefs. And as you said, you're single. So it's like, is it strange for a woman to be single as an adult or?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think that a lot of the time, like, I'm 31 now. So whenever I go to Egypt, people are like, oh, like, Belik, like, where's your guy? And I'm just like, guys, like, just calm down. Like, I'll never forget, my book was just about to come out and I bumped into my mom's friend like on the beach in Egypt, and she was like, oh, we're so over. I tell this story all the time, poor woman, if ever she hears me, but she was like, we're so over like hearing about your book, like, where's the man in your life? And I was like, I wrote a book, like, are you fucking serious? Like, why are you so obsessed, you know?
Interesting.
So I definitely feel like there's a pressure, and that might also be because I think that for a lot of people, you become an adult once you're married, right? Like, that's when you get to move out your house. Like, that's when people start to think of you as an adult. So I kind of bypass that, and I think it's a bit like, oh, okay, so okay, I guess you're just an adult, like, on your own.
I would tend to say that it's worse for guys.
Right.
Do you
It's worse
think?
for guys.
Wow.
Wow.
Here's why.
Interesting.
Here's why. I'll explain, right?
Please do.
If you're a guy who's in his 30s or 40s and you're still not married, people start to get suspicious. Trying to understand what I'm trying to, you know.
No, I don't understand. What do you mean suspicious?
You get it. You don't. I'm sorry, but I'm not saying it on the show. But people,
I got you. I know
you got
what
me,
you're
right?
referring
Yeah.
to.
And then you have to explain to yourself that you're not what they think you are, right? And it's like, I want to get married because I'm personally not ready, but try and explain it to them, and it's like, like, no, that's not how it works. When I'm ready, I'll go get married. Right?
That is absolutely fascinating, because I always thought it was like, oh, guys, like, go sow your oats, like, have all the fun, do whatever you want. And women, it's like, you're supposed to be really young and you're supposed to be like just this good little Arab girl.
It's not. I've seen it happen many times where they assume they were like, are you? And they're like, no, I just didn't get married because, you know, I'm just not ready. Like, it's just how it is.
I don't know what you're referring to. Can you give me some hint, Ali?
Let me pause the recording real quick.
Oh, interesting.
So that's what they assume, Ali, basically.
I see.
And it's hard to convince them otherwise. And I see it happen a lot where guys are in their, especially in my parts of the world, guys in their 20s, right? Mid-20s, freshly off university, right back with their degree. Their first salary comes down, go get married. Hey, I want to spend my first paycheck on, like, no offense to women, but like,
no offense.
I'd rather spend on myself, better myself, go see the world, enjoy, before I have to settle down. Like, for me, and I had this conversation with my dad, I told him, as soon as I graduate, here's my marriage situation. Either I do it when I'm in the clinical years of my school, right? Or a year after graduation, when I'm settled down, traveled, had my fun, seen the world. Because marriage is a responsibility. More than it is about love and happy ever afters. And it's a responsibility in my eyes and in my culture.
You know, I feel like that's part of the problem. And I feel like for me, that's such a like buzzkill. And I think part of the reason why I'm like, I don't really even know if I want to get married, because I feel like the way that it's sold to us is like, oh, that's it. I'm going to just be settled down, like locked in my house. I have to just see your face every single day till I die. You know, especially for women, like, I'm going to have to stay and look after your children while you run around and work and do all of these things. And I feel like we're sold it as quite like this is the end of your life, or like this is, you know, and that's such, I don't want it to be, I don't want my life to end. I like my life.
Exactly. And it's not just about that. What people assume is that as soon as the ring goes on the finger, you're settled down. That's it. You're done. Right? But no, it's hard work to get settled down. Keeping in mind that there are so many and so much things that you two don't know about each other, you have yet to discover and accept before you begin settling down, right? So I've seen this happen a lot in Kuwait, where people fresh out of graduation,
not just in Kuwait, man.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere in Arabia, dude.
Dude, even in Lebanon.
But what I've seen in Kuwait is that they get married as soon as they touch down. Next week, they do their Katb Kitab or their, you know, engagement ceremony. The next month, they're married. In a year, they divorced. What?
So when you're referring to these situations, I guess you talking about like when your parents are like, oh, there's this really great girl for you or whatever. This is not someone that you meet and you like and you want to marry, right?
Yeah, that's how it is.
Exactly
how it is.
So is that like an option for you to be like, oh, Baba, like I love this girl, and I want to marry her. We've
Yeah,
been
but if I
dating
say,
for a
"Oh, Baba,
while.
I love this girl," he's gonna have it. What I say is, "I found this woman who's respectable from this, that. These are her parents. These are
Who's respectable?
Mom, call her mom," and then
So there's no like, oh, I've been dating her and I really like her. No, really. I always thought that was just for women. Like, so men are not supposed to be dating either, or is Kuwait like a bit extra compared to other countries?
I would like to assert my Fifth Amendment right in this topic or discussion. We'll move forward.
We're talking about culture here. We're not talking about anything else.
I'll tell you, listen, in Kuwait, you're allowed to fall in love because we acknowledge that love is natural, right? We're allowed to, unlike the country that shall not be named, right? The only difference is we do it out of respect, right? We don't do the
respect
whole
for who?
Respect for the culture, the people around us, our parents, our family, our names, everything. General respect. So there's no making out under a fountain and all that shit you see in romantic comedy movies. No. It's literally like, Flana, I really like you.
You're missing out.
I'd like to ask your hand in marriage. And she says, you know what? Fuck yeah, let's do it. It's done.
I doubt that's quite what she'd say.
Yeah, no, obviously. She'll just be like, oh my God, Hajdi. And then it's going to be a whole different, like, bitch, don't put me in an awkward situation. Just fucking, let's get this over with. And it's just crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. How we do it is really weird, but it works.
I don't understand this though.
Like I'm not a person who's bro. I'll tell you why it works.
Marrying and getting divorced.
When you're forced
because they can't. Because they're forced to get married.
They're forced to get married.
Things like date someone.
They're not forced. It's never forced. In Kuwait, it's never forced. Not for the girl and not for the guy. I'm not gonna say it's never because there are cases where it is forced, right? And those are the ones that are usually the worst case scenario, right? But in Kuwait, it's more of
it's like cultural expectation, right?
Cultural expectation
you bow to it.
Yeah, pretty much. Because end of the day, the only reason I would get married early is just so that my parents don't miss out on my wedding. And that's me touching into a really dark place in me, right? That's the only reason that I would get married early is just so my parents don't miss out on it. And I don't miss out on them being there.
Doesn't that again feed into this idea that like marriage is supposed to be the most important thing in someone's life, right? Like there's so many other milestones that one might have or one might go through.
Of course.
And I feel like that's one of the things that really is such a
But milestone isn't unachievable within marriage. That's my biggest belief. You can achieve your milestone. You can achieve your goals. You can achieve anything in life, regardless of whether you're married or not. You just need to, what's the issue with our new generation is that when you try to talk to them about such a topic, what happens is they either have the shittiest mentality of how to go about it, or they don't want to talk about it because they think it's like, oh no, what are you, my parents? Why are you talking to me about marriage? Like, no, it's a conversation we should have, right? Especially us in our age, we should start looking for, the one, right? Otherwise, we all fall under the category of basically, mom, look for me because I'm, messing about here and I can't do that.
But I feel like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is I feel like it's so like, again, there's so many other things in life that we should aspire to, and the idea that like we should mold ourselves or like try and just find the one, right? And that's what our like days and weeks and lives should revolve around.
It shouldn't revolve
around.
Really
quite reductive.
It's not that you should revolve around it. It's just here's how I look for the one, or how I would, because I'm not looking, because again, I'm not getting married for another few years, right? And by few years, I mean 5 to 10. What I would do is, in a day, in a life, right, of me going out, going to university, wherever, I'm bound to talk to some girls. It's bound to happen, right? Now, if there was that special connection, which I haven't felt yet, mom, just saying.
Mom.
Okay. If I feel that kind of connection, I'll consider it. I won't spend my entire life like, oh my God, is she the one? Oh, no, that's not what's gonna happen. She'll just be in the back of my mind, right? It's a consideration, a 5-minute thing. Ali, yes or no? No? Fair. Move on. That's
Ali,
how I
how
do
do you,
it.
Ali, number two, how do you, sorry, I'm calling you number two, but it's only
He is number
this
2. Don't
one.
worry about it.
Number one's talking a lot.
Right.
Number two, how do you find dating in LA then? Or are these considerations for you?
I don't have these considerations. I feel free to be myself. If I like someone, I really like him, I get to spend time with him. I don't have to go ask their parents for whatever permission to go see him. And yeah, it's like, I mean, freeing. Like I'm seeing a girl right now, and it's good. And we have a good
Okay.
relationship, and we get to hang out just because we can. And in the Middle East, I couldn't do that. I had friends in the Middle East who, Lebanon at least, who like when the parents found out they were like hanging out, they forced them to get married, literally.
Wow.
Right? I had like, you know, I don't want to name drop, but I know like, I mean, people, you know, Ali, who had to get married and then had to get divorced because they found out that, hey, I'm not gonna, what am I doing marrying someone at 18 years old?
You're kidding.
And I just want to be free, man. I just want to be free to be myself, do what I want. Love, dude. Why are you putting this on love? Why are you restricting love in the Middle East?
We're not restricting love. We're respecting love.
Respecting
and we're
what?
not loving around every person we see.
What is that? Why not, dude? Why not love?
What do you mean? Why not?
Love.
Ali? It's because
No, I mean this right now. Why?
I'm not
What
having
is
this
wrong
conversation with you right now because
What is wrong?
it's a 5-hour conversation and you've been too westernized. You've been westernized.
You've been westernized.
You've been westernized.
And
I
happiness.
feel like that's why actually earlier I was saying to you, what do you think is Western and what do you think is Arab? Because I feel like we have these really binary ideas of like, this is what it means to be Arab and this is what it means to be Western. And if you go too far that way, that means that you're less Arab or whatever. And I feel like, why does it need to be Western or Arab to like just want to be yourself, whatever that means, or to like explore all your options, or to like just live your life the way that you want? Why does that mean that you've become Westernized?
Well, because we have our own tradition and belief, right?
Right.
In our own society, we don't have to change it to appeal to, you know, the US or UK or Europe or wherever.
But why is it like changing it to appeal? Why isn't it that like, I feel like there's so many people, and I've had these conversations with so many people where we feel restricted a lot of the time by, you know, expectations placed on us, by the ways that we're supposed to be. Why? Like, why does that mean that I'm being British because I want to...
But it's not restrictive though. You feel like it's restrictive because you saw how they are completely different to us, right? And you're like, oh my God, it's restrictive. But if you never knew about Europe, UK, US, or whatever, right? It's not gonna feel like restrictions. It's just gonna feel like normal everyday life.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Don't you think there's a better way for culture to exist in the Middle East? Do you think this is it? Like we've been doing this for 1,000 years.
and it's been working. So why
Is
change
it
it for
working,
the
man?
U-
Is it working, man?
It was working until the
You ask
US
a lot
tried
of
to
people.
interfere and invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, every single different.
I
and
feel like
they
those are
forced
two
their
different
soldiers and-
conversations.
Right.
I feel like those are two entirely different conversations. Also, sorry, and I feel like I feel like you hate me.
I don't hate you. I respect your
feel-
opinion. It's just that
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, as an Arab man who, I don't know what your background is, but I feel like, you know, probably relatively privileged, it might work for you,
Right.
in which case that's, you know, good for you. But
Mhm.
how about everyone else?
Mhm.
How
Yeah,
about,
this is
you know,
what I-
women? How about poor people?
I
How
have
about...
two sisters, right? I have two sisters older than me. I have never seen, they live in London as well, by the way, because they go to university there. They hate their lives there because they went from a place where women have been extremely respected and upholded into, you know, like they're treated like jewels. And they're like, Ali, like, there are men here that try to do the most retarded shit like all the time. And I'm just like, well, if I was there, I would know how to deal with them. But unfortunately, don't do this.
I'm gonna send you a copy
No.
of my book
Okay.
because I feel like
All right.
you should
Great
read
book.
it.
I'll hand him
Oh, you've got it.
when I see him in person. I'll hand
right
this to you,
there.
Ali.
Oh,
You
thank you
understand
for buying
different
it.
perspectives. Of course.
Okay.
No, it's a great
Fine.
book.
Well,
Greater freedom. Check
again,
it out.
this is in comparison to Kuwait, right? And our because
I feel like a
Mm.
huge part of the problem is this idea that women are jewels, because that removes a lot of our autonomy. Like Bassem Youssef, who is such a G, gave such an amazing monologue, you know, in the wake of the Me Too stuff that was happening in Egypt, where he said, as soon as you say a woman is a fruit and that you need to wise her skin off her, as soon as you say that a woman is a jewel and you need to protect her, you've completely dehumanized her. And I feel like, you know, chivalry is what I wrote this in my book. I can't remember the quote now.
Okay.
Like, it's like misogyny cloaked in chivalry, basically. So it's like, oh, I have to protect you. That's quite misogynistic. Like, I can take care of myself. Thank you.
I will repeat what I said in hopes that we listen carefully to the words. Are treated like jewels. Women, I didn't say my sisters are jewels. I said they are treated like jewels. They're human beings. They have their own rights. They can do as they please. But at the end of the day, I treat my sisters how I treat my most expensive thing in life, right? With care, subtlety, and actual, you know, love.
And what about your
And
brother?
respect. No, my brother
about
can
your
fuck
brother?
off. I don't like it. No. Shout out to you, Jocelyn. I love you so much. I'm joking. No, my brother is treated the way I treat my
Right.
friends. My brother is my best friend.
Okay.
There's a difference.
But your sisters are not?
Of course they are. My sisters are my second mothers.
I understand, but you're saying they're your jewels.
Again, I'll say it again.
No, I know they're treated like jewels.
They
Is
aren't
Jasser
jewels.
not treated like a
I
jewel?
have a question. Do you guys often, like, is this how you often speak, like, to each other? Or is this
We
like
get into arguments all the time.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
do you do you often have opposing views on things?
Yeah, most of the
say
time.
so.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's how we
Okay.
keep that's how I can tolerate him for 200 days, 1 hour.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
because I
Doesn't
love it
get
when
boring.
someone has a different opinion to me, because we can, you know, that's where a conversation is. If I agreed with everything you said, it's just being repetitive.
Right.
Right?
We're just copycats.
Yeah, it's
we're
like,
not.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's not a podcast. It's just a rant.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
we
again,
don't mean offense to each other. Ali,
Again.
of course, I don't mean offense to you and your culture.
yeah, no,
and-
obviously, I know. I know you don't mean offense.
Right,
But I
exactly.
love
I
it
was
when
trying
people
to
ask and when they
have
challenge my
conversations.
culture. Because, you know, at the end of the day, nothing is right and nothing is wrong. All comes down to opinions.
Right. There you go.
Right? So that's how I take. Oh my god, dude, she's giving me that face.
There's some things that are wrong. Bad. We can do.
Anyways,
Like murder.
that's Jocelyn is my best friend. I love him to bits, right?
Mhm.
But my sisters, there's a whole different other respect for them. Why? Because first of all, they're older than me. That's the 1st thing, is they're older than me. Second of all, they are my second mothers. That's how I view them. And third of all, the last thing is because they're women. That's how I view it
Well, that's
personally.
good for you.
First, number one thing is the age. Then the fact that they are my second mothers. The last thing is that because they're women. That's how every person in Kuwait views their sisters, wives, mothers, regardless, right?
Can't be bothered to get into this. We've only got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man.
I mean, we
Well,
can always bring you back in the future and continue
yes,
this
to
topic
have
of
different.
discussion.
Yeah.
It's not,
Go
it's
deeper and
not-
deeper.
yeah.
Oh,
But
don't get in
the
trouble
thing
for this,
is,
Ali.
you cannot compare. Even though we're all Arabs, it's more stereotypical that you say Arabs as a whole. No, the culture in Kuwait is different to Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi, Yemen, blah blah, Egypt, Morocco, wherever you go. We're all different, regardless
Right.
of whether we're all the same,
That's true.
right?
There are
You
similarities
might not
though,
like the way things are
Right.
run in Kuwait,
in Kuwait.
but the people in
Egypt's
Kuwait
different.
like it, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
I might not like the way things are run in Egypt or in Lebanon, but who am I to say I don't like it? It should change, right? If the people who want to change spoke up, that's when change, like there's a right to change. That's my personal opinion, right?
Amazing.
That's just me being
Yeah.
as truthful and honest as I can be.
Right. And exactly. We just have a conversation on this. Keep talking about it. We'll keep talking about it different times than now. Alia, I just want to ask you one more question. Great
Go ahead.
book, Greater Freedom. Great.
Thank
Check it out.
you.
The link in bio. What does it mean to you to be like free?
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a lot. And the epigraph of my book, which is like the first line, essentially the first page, says, freedom to be oneself is all very well. The greater freedom is not to be oneself. And I think that's often what I come back to when I think about what that means, because I feel like, again, as we've been talking about throughout this conversation, there are so many expectations on how we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to want, all of these things. And it's not about being disrespectful and being like, whatevs, I don't give a shit what my family think. That's not at all the point.
Mhm.
But I think it's kind of like unpicking a lot of these kind of things for ourselves, for each one of us, and not even needing to be the version of ourselves that we think we need to be. Really thinking about what that means for each of us and being as authentic as we can be to ourselves. And I think that's it's like a lifelong mission, I think.
Well said. Well, we have
Carry on with your
hit
mission.
our timestamp.
Timestamp. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a good conversation. I'm glad we had this conversation. And thank you very much for coming on the show, Alia. Obviously,
Thank you.
we deeply appreciate you and your thoughts and different opinions. Where can people get your book, by the way? Where can people get your book?
So it's available worldwide. The Greater Freedom: Life as a Middle Eastern Woman Outside the Stereotypes. It's on Amazon. It's on bookstores around the world. It is on audiobook. In my voice, I read it. It's on Kindle. Everywhere, really.
Yeah,
that's great.
Awesome.
Well, we'll leave a link to all of that in the description.
Go find it.
As
Listen
well
to
as
it.
where you can find Alia on her socials. Thank you for watching another episode. If you deeply appreciate this conversation, please do like, subscribe, share,
subscribe,
right? All that stuff. Alia, 75% of the people who watch our show are not subscribed.
Wow.
Imagine. So
wow,
what do you have to like? What happens to them if they don't subscribe?
They don't get to hear your wonderful thoughts.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
no, I'm joking. It's all love. It's all love. We're bantering here.
It is. It's banter. Real banter. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please again like, subscribe, share, follow Alia. She's a great person. I really enjoyed my time with her. And this is how we sign out.
Boom. A cube. Another one. This is how we sign out.
He just bought tons of parts and never really wanted to sell them. So it was I wouldn't even call it a hobby. He was just that guy that, if you knew, lucky enough to know, you could get the part that you needed. And then when I started putting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, we picked up some speed, and I was like, Tom, this is like, there's something here. And he goes, well, yeah, what do you like? I know. So I kind of ran with it a little bit, and then, like I said, we sponsored a couple car shows, and we had a great response from people that we met in person that had seen our stuff on social media, and whatever it is now, a year later, we're rocking and rolling and selling parts